In this video, we bring you the last journey of James Kim. The disappearance of the Kim family is one which captured the hearts of the nation and prompted the biggest search and rescue mission in Oregon's history. On Thanksgiving in 2006, the entire family went missing. Now, Thanksgiving is the favorite holiday of most Americans, even more so than Christmas, I think. In 2006, it was no different for James Kim, his wife Katie, and their two young daughters, Sabine and Penelope, who should have been celebrating the very American holiday of stuffing delicious food into more food and adding additional food on the side. But something went horribly wrong. It was a simple family road trip. The motivation behind it was not only the Kims' dream of one day moving from their home in San Francisco, California to Seattle, Washington, or even Oregon, but to just spend some time as a family. The Kims went on family road trips all the time. In fact, they had met when Katie was only 22 years old and a student living in Seattle when she decided to take a road trip with some of her friends to Northern California. She stated, "He was the cutest thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. We got matching tattoos, and that was pretty much how we met. We were inseparable after that." James and Katie married in 1999 in Las Vegas, and not long after came their first daughter Penelope, and then baby Sabine, who was just about 7 months old on that fateful Thanksgiving Day in 2006 when the family's lives changed forever. A good friend of the couple named Michael Burke said of them, "They were always looking to do something better, to be something better. They had dreams. They had lots of big dreams, and they were very proactive in making those dreams come true." Michael also remarked on how incredibly happy not only the couple was, but of how happy the family was as a whole. When it was time for the family to go on vacations, they would almost always go on road trips. Jim, a technology reporter for CNN, and Katie, who managed two small shops in San Francisco where they lived, decided to do just that and hit the road for a family vacation that November. Katie said of the trip, "We were always going on road trips with the girls. We tried to just include them in everything that we did." So on November 17th, 2006, the Kim family left San Francisco and headed north. All of them were excited to be going somewhere where another family adventure waited. No one could have ever predicted the tragedy that was about to strike this close-knit and very loving family of four. They made it to their Seattle destination as planned and spent some time with their closest family and friends, including Michael Burke. He stated, "We had a great time. Everyone was happy. They looked a little tired from traveling, but they had plans for the rest of the trip, and they continued down Highway I-5 to Gold Beach." Gold Beach was a 140-mile drive down the Oregon coast and just about 5 hours away from where they had spent time with their family and friends in Seattle. Before getting too long into this drive, the family decided to stop off at a Denny's in Roseburg, Oregon. The Kim family had no idea that this would be their last meal together. Katie Kim reminisced about how badly James had wanted to order a side of French fries, but she had convinced him instead to order a side of steamed vegetables. She was concerned about all of the unhealthy traveling food they had been consuming during the trip. Once they left the Denny's restaurant, they were back on the road again. James was driving and Katie was helping to navigate. This is where a series of simple errors caused what would be the end of their happy family and unimaginable grief and loss to all those who knew and loved them. They first missed their exit. To get to their Gold Beach destination, they were supposed to take Route 42 via exit 119. Instead of trying to make a U-turn on an unknown stretch of highway in the dark, the Kims decided just to keep on going. Katie Kim had spotted another road on the map that seemed to be able to take them to the same place, and so she and James didn't turn around. Katie explained that the two had made this decision based on the fact that by the time they had realized they had missed their exit, they felt they had gone too far past it to turn around. She insists there was a road on the map that she spotted that she said had a very clear-cut route to the coast. Unbeknownst to them, they had gotten on an extremely dangerous stretch of road known for being dark and treacherous. It's called Bear Camp Road, and it has an elevation at its highest point of between 4,000 and 4,500 feet. This road isn't maintained at all or even plowed when it snows, which it had been snowing in the area. According to a search and rescue coordinator in the area named Sarah Rubert, Bear Camp Road is infamous for people who don't know the area to take in the wintertime and get stuck. Katie Kim was confident they would be hitting the coast and back on track soon after getting on the road, and because of this, she decided to get some sleep. She figured it was an easy shot now, and James would be okay navigating on his own for a little while. When she awoke an hour later, however, it was to a worrisome sight and a troublesome feeling. She explained she noticed immediately how slow James was driving and also that they were on some mountain roads. She stated, "I said, James, this isn't right. We've been driving for a really long time already. Did we miss a turn?" And he said, "No, I don't think so." Unfortunately, however, James Kim had missed a turn, a very important one. It was at a fork in the road he hadn't seen and had gone completely past. It led to Gold Beach, but he failed to see the sign and continued going right at the fork. Although he thought he was on the right road to Gold Beach, he was actually on a logging track. There was supposed to be a steel gate blocking this path, most likely for safety and preventative measures in making sure this exact thing doesn't happen, but for unknown reasons still to this day, it was not only unlocked but wide open. It's possible James hadn't even seen the gate itself and had no idea he had just gone through it. Very quickly after she woke up, Katie Kim realized they were hopelessly lost. They tried in vain to use their cell phones to call for help, but of course there was no service. James decided that perhaps a lower elevation would be more conducive to obtaining at least some kind of signal, so he put the car in reverse and eased his way back down the mountain a little bit. Katie Kim explained at this moment, he opened his door so that he could see better over the side. There was a huge drop on one side of it. Huge. And it was nighttime, so we couldn't tell how far the drop was. It was terrifying. They decided to stop when they reached a fork in the road because they felt like at least here they were on more solid ground. Not only was the snow falling outside and all around them, but their gas gauge was falling as well. They had to make a decision. They decided to wait it out overnight in the car until morning. They discussed it and figured this was the safest option for the entire family. They idled the engine to keep warm, and once the sun rose, rechecked their maps, ate the food they had with them, and waited for help to come. Only none ever did. Katie Kim later said that at that point they were just sitting around and waiting for someone to come along and find them and give them some assistance. In fact, she said the couple were sure someone would come along eventually, only they were wrong. It seems no one else was traveling this particular road at this time. Remember, the gate they had gone through was supposed to be inaccessible. The family spent another night, now their second, huddled all together in the back of their Saab. James put the seats down to make more room for them to lay and try and find some semblance of comfort. On the radio, there was nothing but more bad news as reports came in about heavy storms flooding through the area with no end in sight. The thought of black bear hadn't escaped James and Katie either. Katie stated, "I remember seeing bears out there. I remember seeing bears that looked like they were scaling a mountain, going straight down a cliff." She said they were honking their horn on and off, non-stop, because they had heard somewhere that bears are scared of loud noises. They did this constantly to try and keep the bears away from their vehicle. Katie took baby Sabine and zipped her up into her sweater. The couple were scared to death, especially about all the bears that seemed to be constantly near and around the vehicle. She stated that they honked the horn all night long that second night. The following day, when James wrote SOS very large in the snow in hopes of getting the attention of anyone traveling overhead, Katie left a handwritten note explaining the family's desperate situation and need for immediate help on a nearby logger's gate. "We were in this big clearing," she said. "We thought there was a good chance that a helicopter or an airplane would fly overhead and be able to see that," Katie later told reporters. Still, though, nobody came to their aid. By the third day, due to both children being exhausted, freezing, and the oldest begging for a hot meal, Katie Kim decided to also breastfeed 4-year-old Penelope, as she had been doing with 7-month-old Sabine. The couple were getting more and more desperate by the second and didn't know what to do next. According to Katie, this was the turning point for James. He was very concerned because he knew that breastfeeding 2 children, a 4-year-old who took much more than the baby as well, would seriously deplete Katie's energy and vitamins. Her body wouldn't be able to handle it for much longer because she wasn't eating or drinking anything at that point either. The couple had run out of food the night before. By the time the 5th day had rolled around, the gas died and the heat went right along with it. Baby Sabine had stopped smiling, and Katie explained her cries had become very sad and thin. By the time night fell on the 5th night, the entire family was suffering from frostbite. Katie and James knew that frostbite had a very deadly twin which was slowly creeping up on them: hypothermia. This would be deadly for the entire family. They would literally freeze to death, and soon, if something didn't happen and they didn't get help. On the 6th day, desperate and a bit insane with the notion of trying to do anything he could possibly think of to save his family, James decided to burn all 4 of the family's tires and what he referred to as the sacrificial lamb, which was the baby's small stuffed lamb toy they had brought on the trip with him. He figured he could build a fire large enough for smoke to rise above the tree line and possibly signal anyone nearby that someone was in need of help. It was worth a shot. The triumphant feeling didn't last, though, and Katie made her husband make a desperate promise. She thought for sure they were going to die out there and made him swear he would take care of her with his pocket knife should the children die first. She wanted the family to all lie out in the snow together and to pass on almost as one unit. How they had tried to live their lives since the day they met and got those matching tattoos as one unit, one mind and one body. On the 7th day, James Kim made a fateful and desperate decision to leave the car and his family behind to go and try and find help. He realized it was the only way they even stood a chance, even as small as chances may have been. He had to try. So this is what he did. After a tearful goodbye to his wife and daughters, James Kim headed out in the snow and tried to walk to get help. He wouldn't just sit there and allow his family to perish, even if it meant his own life were on the line. Unfortunately, because of the car dying and the family having no access to the radio anymore, they had no way of knowing that a massive search effort was always underway looking for them. James' father, who was very wealthy, was the owner of an international aerospace company and had commissioned 3 helicopters and a search team of 25 people, in addition to the search and rescue volunteers already searching for the Kims. 2 cell phone engineers in Medford, Oregon, wanted to do their part and decided to try and trace the Kims' cell phones to see if they could help pinpoint at least some area of location where they could send the search and rescue teams. Despite several obstacles, they were in fact able to narrow the search and gave a general area where the phones had last had service. On the 9th day, December 4th, 2006, a part-time helicopter pilot named John Ranchor, who was volunteering in the SAR effort, finally spotted the Kims' car. Within minutes of him radioing in for backup, several more helicopters landed and surrounded the vehicle. They found Katie and her daughters, all frostbitten, starving, and barely alive, but alive nonetheless. It was bittersweet. As relieved as Katie was to finally be rescued and to be able to get herself and mainly her daughters to safety, she was devastated at hearing the news that her beloved husband hadn't yet been found. We went from this emotional high to this devastating low of, "We've only got 3, we need 4, said Joe Rice, operations manager for Carson Helicopters. Tragically, 2 days after his wife and daughters were rescued on December 6, 2006, James' body was found in a creek more than 16 miles away from where the vehicle was when he had left the family to go and find help. He had walked those 16 miles in a desperate struggle against time, the elements, Mother Nature, and his own body shutting down in a heroic, if futile, attempt to have his family rescued before all 4 of them perished. James Kim risked his own life without a second thought to make sure he had done everything humanly possible to save his wife and 2 young daughters. It was later stated that one of the main issues authorities had with finding the family was that nobody knew the route in which the Kims planned to take to get to their final destination. They weren't reported missing until they didn't show up for their reservations at the lodge because nobody knew how long each route would take and, again, which one the family had decided upon. This will be a good lesson here, folks. If you're going to go on a road trip, whether alone or with your family or another group of people, make sure at least one person that doesn't go along knows which route you're taking. Also, have one person you check in with regularly and have an amount of time agreed upon with this person so that if you don't check in by a certain time on a certain day, they know something is definitely wrong and report it to the authorities. In these cases, the sooner someone knows you're missing, the sooner search and rescue will be sent out to search for you, and hopefully, the sooner they'll find you.